So in this video, we are going to learn a second form of that an equation of a line can take. So the form we already knew that we've done before is slope-intercept form, and that's y equals mx plus b. So if you have an equation that's solved for y like that, then we know it's in slope-intercept form. So our second form is called point-slope form. All right, this form is really helpful because instead of having to know the y-intercept, this one just gives us any random point, okay? Which makes it a little more versatile, I guess. So the way we're going to get to point-slope form is we're going to actually start with the slope formula, which you might remember from earlier this chapter. The slope formula looks like this: m equals y1, or actually it was y2, right? y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1, right? And what we're going to do to this slope formula is actually manipulate it a little bit. All right, I'm going to multiply both sides by the denominator, by that x2 minus x1. So times x2 minus x1. And I'm going to do the same thing on the other side, x2 minus x1. All right, so here these guys would cancel, and now I get, let me write this in red, x2 minus x1 times m equals y2 minus y1. Okay, that's a y. All right, so now all I'm going to do is kind of reorder this around a little bit, and we're going to see that I get this formula, y minus y1. Yep, I dropped off the 2. Now it's just y minus y1 equals m parentheses x minus x1. So the 2's fell off, and I'll explain that. All right, and I just kind of rewrote it in an order that is a little more familiar. Okay, this is called point slope form. Okay, and the reason it's called point slope is because it gives us a point and it gives us a slope. So the slope that it gives us is m. That's the same that we're used to. And then the point that it gives us is actually the point x1 comma y1. All right. All right, let's do a quick example. So I'm going to write this equation. Y plus 3 equals 4 parentheses x minus 1. Okay. Now, the slope is really easy to find. The slope is just the coefficient, the number multiplied by the x parentheses. So the slope is just 4. M equals 4. The point is a little harder to find. And so what we're going to do here to try to be able to find the point that's sort of hiding in this equation, right? So in the equation, I have this point that's there, x1 comma y1. So the x1 is the number that's subtracted from x in the x parenthesis. So x minus 1. Well, the number that's subtracted from x is 1. So my x coordinate is going to be 1. On the other side, y minus y1, the number that's subtracted from y is, well, to get it to be subtracted, we would say y minus negative 3. That's where the plus would come from. Okay, and that can get confusing for people. So there's a little, I guess, trick or whatever you want to call it, like a little idea that I like to do here to help us figure out the point, right? My job is to figure out there's like an x comma y that this equation is hiding, and I want to find that. So all you do is you take the left side, you take the x side where it says x minus 1, you write in a little equation, x minus 1 equals 0. The x minus 1 was just what's in parentheses, and you set it equal to 0 every time. And you add 1 to both sides now to solve this, and so I get x equals 1. Ta-da! There's my x coordinate. So I write 1 there. Now I do the same thing on the y side. So I'm going to write this equation using the y side. Y plus 3 equals 0. It's just always equal to 0, right? And the reason that works is because then when I subtract 3 from both sides, y equals negative 3, I get the number that was subtracted from y. Y minus negative 3 would give me y plus 3. So that can get a little confusing at first, but if we do a few examples, it'll start to make a little bit more sense. Okay, so let's go to the next slide here. I've got an example for us to go through. All right, so here we've got an example problem, and its equation, y plus 2 equals negative 3x minus 1. And so what you can see is that this is an equation that's in that same format as the previous page. Y minus y1 equals m parenthesis x minus x1. And so our job is going to be to find the slope, m, and the point. So m is the slope, and the point, there's a point hiding in this equation, and the point is going to be x1 comma y1. So let's look here. The slope is the easy thing to find. It's the number that's multiplied in front of the parentheses there. So it's negative 3. So I know I'm going to have a slope, m equals negative 3. The point, what I have to do is look on the x side and the y side and try to figure out what the x1 and the y1 values would be. The easy way to do that, and I know it seems kind of random, but this is just a good way to get the correct answer, is you're going to take that inside of the parenthesis, the x minus 1, and you just set it equal to 0. You create an equation out of it, and then we add 1 to both sides, so we get the answer x equals 1. Well, that's the x coordinate of my point, 1, comma. And then to find the y coordinate, I'm going to set the y side equal to 0. So I take the y plus 2 and I write y plus 2 equals 0. Subtract 2 to both sides, and we get y equals negative 2. That becomes the y coordinate. So now I have this point and a slope, and that's going to be how I graph this line. So to make the graph, you always start with the point. So I'm going to go to the point 1 comma negative 2. So that would be going right 1 and then down 2. So let's put that down. Right 1 down 2 goes right there. And then I'm going to use the slope, which is negative 3 over 1. That says down 3, right 1. And so from that point, I will go down 3, 1, 2, 3, and over 1 to the right, and make another point. So I could connect those. Because I'm so close to the bottom of the graph, maybe I want to go backwards. So that would be up 3, left 1. And now I can make my graph. Ta-da! Very nice. So we'll try a couple more faster examples here on the next 2 slides. Either of these, you could pause it and try them first if you'd like, and then check your answers with the video. So here, let's go a little faster. My slope is going to be negative 1/2, and then I set the y piece equal to 0, so I get y equals 4, and the x piece equal to 0, so I get x equals negative 2, which gives me my point of, make sure you go in the right order, x is negative 2, y is 4. All right, then to make my graph, let's go to the point negative 2 comma 4, which is way up here. X is negative 2, y is 4. And then my slope tells me to go down 1, right 2. The negative gets me down, so down 1, right 2, puts it there. Down 1, right 2, there, and I've got my line. Connect it. Beautiful. All right, one more. And notice, again, this point, the one that I'm making kind of large, obnoxiously large right there, that's the one we started with, and that's the one that came from the formula. The x plus 2, y minus 4 gave me the point negative 2 comma 4. Okay, one more. Here we go. My slope is 3/2. And then to get the point, I'm going to solve each of these equal to 0. Y minus 1 equals 0, so y equals 1. X plus 1 equals 0, so x equals negative 1. So that's negative 1 comma positive 1. That's this point here. This time my slope is up 3 and right 2, because it's positive. So up 3, right 2, puts me there. I could do backwards, down 3 and backwards 2. There's a point, and there's my line. Ooh, that's a little wobbly there. That's okay. All right. So you might be wondering, do I have to do this part every time where I'm writing out y minus 1 equals 0, y equals 1? No, but that's how you should be thinking about it. So you should say to yourself, what y value makes this left side 0? Positive 1. What x value makes this parenthesis 0? Negative 1. And that's how you get your point. Okay, thanks for watching.